Hello and welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. I'm Liz Roesel with Sea Level Social, and I'm joined with Joe Pettit of Joe Pettit Inspires and Kern Halls of Ingenious Culinary Concepts. We hope that you're enjoying this series on the virtues of a school nutrition leader. In the last episode, we talked about having a clear vision, and in this episode, we're going to talk about being bold yet composed, which me personally, I can't wait to hear all about this topic. So I'm really excited for you all to hear it as well. Joe, what do you have for us today?
It is a weird combo, bold but composed. And some would say they have nothing to do with one another. But from a sports background, I really see those types of things because when I'm talking about being bold, I'm talking about taking chances that nobody else thinks is going to happen. So if you're a quarterback, when they're like, oh, that was a bold call right there, is meaning that nobody expected it to happen. It could be 2nd and 2 for my football fans out there that I know. Sorry, Big Ten. Sorry, my conferences who've canceled football. So far, we're still on as of the recording of this video in the ACC, SEC. But if it's 2nd and 2 and you go off and throw a deep route down the sideline to your receiver, that's a bold play. And you see, the reason that some of you coaches like Dabo Swinney of Clemson or a Nick Saban of Alabama, hate him, love him, whatever the case may be, Nick Saban is a bold leader. He's never afraid to take chances, never afraid. Subs his quarterback in the half of a championship game. He's bold enough to know that that failure is just a part of succeeding. Like, that's just a part. And so as a leader in school nutrition, especially now is the time for some of you folks who were kind of sitting on the back burners as leaders to really start to take some bold steps in how you lead. And I'll talk about compose just briefly, but when you do hit that big play, when you do make the big call, when you do make the next 5-day box that sends home and it's a home run, be composed. You know what I mean? Like, don't go celebrating. As our coach used to say, when you get in the end zone, Kern, just hand the ball to the referee. Act like you've been there before. It's just being composed. And I believe as a leader, you don't want to lose sight of keeping your team on that same unified vision, and you go and celebrate, or you just throw yourself on the floor like my 2-year-old daughter does when she doesn't get her way and she falls, she just throws herself on the floor. Be composed as a leader. Be composed at all times.
Yeah, Joe. And just kind of go along with your football analogy. I really like Bill Belichick and also Nick Saban, right, as just leaders, because no matter what, I always look at, not so much at the game, I look at them, right? And you can barely see Bill Belichick or Nick Saban smile. Like, you just won a national championship or a Super Bowl, they might smile for a little bit. The next day, they have their demeanor back on. Just like, okay, we won yesterday, we got to get ready for next year. And they're already going again to next year. It's like, how can I recruit? How can I win? What plays can we do? And they're back in the lab again of working. So being bold, it takes a lot, and then of course they're not going to understand your personality or your vision that you have with it. But one of the things that I always try to do, again, like I was talking in the last series, is just trying to do something that's different for the students, right? How are you going to take that step forward during these conditions for the students that come back to school, the ones that are learning online? How are you going to communicate with them? How are you going to still go out there and try to get the best meals, period, right? So it's going to be a little bit easier, right? Because now if I had a school of 500 students and only 100 are coming, you should put the best foot forward for your food, right? You have the same staff, less students, so let's even make it even better, right? And have that bold food, bold customer service, just everything that all goes together to make sure these students are successful when they come to your cafeteria. So now is the time to making sure that you implement all those great strategies that you had before, because you have less students eating right now at home, unfortunately, but let's see how we can just do the best we can with the students that are here in the schools.
Kern, I love that you really turned what's a negative into an opportunity to serve students even better. I want to just put my 2 cents in on if you're like me and you struggle with being bold, maybe just slightly, because what I'm hearing when I think of, I'm writing, as I write my notes, I'm putting down like take chances. And maybe it's the Belichick reference, Kern, but I thought about being creative, and Belichick is certainly creative. So, I mean, if you think, oh, I'm not a bold person, that's not me, think about being creative. We're saying the same thing, but maybe you feel more comfortable with that vernacular. I do. Maybe I don't see myself as bold, but I could see myself as creative. So just throwing that out there for anybody like me who struggles with being bold.
That's a great point, and I think you really spoke to a lot of different personalities, Liz, that are out there. Our D and the disc profile, the shark, like they love that term bold. Like that's just who they are. So I appreciate you really, honing that in and speaking more to our S's and C's out there who really need to hear it in the creative terms. Yep. So I think that's really important. And again, the reason that we threw in composure is because sometimes when you're bold, it's risky. Sometimes when you're creative, it's risky. And that's where, when we say that you have to take those chances, and even if you fall, even if your team makes what I put in the worksheet, like, a dumb decision, I meant it in the nicest, kindest terms, because you have to be composed enough, because one word, one action, if you blow up because somebody was attempting to be bold, you may crush their efforts forever. And in addition, as a leader, the reason you want to be bold and composed is because composure really a lot of times comes down to your emotions. And you want to be able to keep your emotions in check as a leader, as you're leading your team. Be bold, be composed, because your team is always watching. Always watching. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you both so much. I'm so glad that we brought this topic, especially amidst COVID and certain schools reopening. I think it's such a great topic. And next week is even better, is resiliency, which we have not talked about, I don't think at all, on Any Cup of Joe yet. And I know we're nearing, if we're not already at episode 30, we're definitely nearing it. So stay tuned next week for resiliency. New episodes every Wednesday on Ingenious Culinary Concepts and Joe Pettit Inspires. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.